Yeah, 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 yeah. You're now tuned into the one and only place where you can get what's needed on your plate, along with what's going on in your hood. Candy Lady's gonna keep you up to date with events going on round your way. What's really good? SC by Black locally, keep them dollars circulating in your own community. It's the SCBBL show. You're now tuned into the SCBBL show. Rock on. Rock on.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the SCBBL show. This is episode number 4 with Mrs. Tameka Diaz with Monday Mom. Hi, Tameka. How are you?
Hi, Candace. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to speak with more moms and more families. And shout out to my girl, Tarika Pearson, for connecting us.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So Tameka, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you kind of get started with homeschooling?
Okay. Well, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 girls, ages 6, 4.5, and 3. And we have always homeschooled. And it was a decision that was made very early on. It was before my middle child, which is medically fragile, and she has several different disabilities. But it was definitely more, I guess I knew for a fact that I would do it after having her. But one of the main things was just wanting to be a part of, the development. There's a lot of things that happens, when it comes down to growing, developing, in those first several years of life. And I wanted to be a part of that journey, and I wanted my daughters to have the freedoms to be able to grow and learn at their own pace and do things when they were ready to do them.
That's cool. So you knew when you had your children that you were going to homeschool. That was just something automatic.
That was just, it was automatic. Before becoming a mom, I actually ran an in-home daycare for several years. And I learned so much from those children that I used to keep. And they taught me so much. And one of the main things that they taught me was that all of us, we know this, but, like children, like when they're developing, they're all, they're different, and they have different interests, and they learn differently, and they learn on different schedules. And so just watching them, I knew then kind of like, well, if I ever have kids, then, I think I want to give my children, the ability to be able to grow and learn at their own pace.
That's amazing. So what has that been like? Because you have to juggle both. Like you have to homeschool your children, but then you have one child out of the 3 that needs extra attention. So how has that been?
Yeah, well, it was definitely a learning curve. Like it was definitely a curve. But we have figured it out. And I think that's what it is. I think the important part is just giving yourself time and realizing that, you have time. There is no, you got to hurry up and figure it out. Mm-hmm. So we took our time figuring out what works, and we're there now. It took a lot of just trying different things. And ultimately it was surrendering to everything, surrendering to what it is, accepting everything for what it is and where it is, and making it work with what it is and where it is. So that was huge. Like once I got to that point, things became a lot easier.
Okay. One of the things I was going to say is that you hear some parents get feedback from the schools that if you have a child that's special needs, they need to be in school so that they can get that attention that they need.
Right.
You never had them in school, so you probably didn't have to go through that. But have you heard that as well from other parents?
I have heard that as well. And I've even heard it from our local school district, because when my daughter, the first few years of her life, the program that she was in that allowed her to receive certain services in home was through the school district. So once she aged out of those programs, I actually had to have, and I had to go over, to the school and talk to a few people in Greenville County School District, and we had to have an IEP meeting to discuss, the plans and stuff. And they did try to tell me that that was what was best for her, but I was like, well, I'm her mom, so
I get to make that decision. Awesome.
And she has a lot of diagnoses, and she has several needs, and sending her anywhere would require me to put an ample amount of trust into people, that I don't know. So I wasn't okay with that.
That's awesome. So what is your secret ingredient? Like, how do you balance? What's your key into all of this? I know you said surrender, which is a powerful thing. So just,
Definitely
giving yourself time to kind of unlearn all the things that you thought you knew, even from your own experience and being a school student, and kind of figuring out the patterns, the learning behaviors of your children. Things, what do you feel like other parents should kind of like be prepared for if they're not already on this journey, or probably could use, that one tip that's been working for you?
Yeah, in addition to surrendering, I would say deschooling. Yeah, I would say we would have to deschool, because I know just from everything that's gone on this year, obviously there's a lot of homeschool talk this year.
Yep.
So, and I think the mistake that a lot of us try to make, even myself when I first started, is the thinking that you have to recreate school at home. And that's absolutely not it. So I think that deschooling is a huge thing. And I think that if you're a parent, you have to do it. And if your child has ever been, in public school, then you have to give that child an opportunity to deschool as well.
Yes, that's what we did the first year. The first year was just our first year of taking our children out of school. We just deschooled. Like, we gave ourselves time to figure out.
The first when we exactly when we made the decision, like, I guess, like, permanent, like, okay, we're doing this. My oldest at the time was 3, so I spent from 3 to 5, because I know we didn't have to do anything legally until age 5. So we spent from age 3 to age 5 deschooling and figuring it out, figuring out what works best for her, figuring out the type of learner that she is, figuring out what her love language is, because I think that is huge. That plays a huge role in learning, and knowing how to teach them. So my oldest daughter, she's very, very capable of sitting down and doing things on her own, but her love language is quality time. So she excels when we can wait until we have a point in the day where it can just be me and her. So I know that she excels when she has that. So that's why, like, I don't try to push if we obviously are happy with independent learning, but if they want it, when they want it, when it's good for them.
I'm gonna write that down. So how did you find out her love language?
So finding out her love language is very similar when you're finding out, your significant other's love language. So you ask, several questions, just like they have the questions when you're finding out your partner's love language, and you can just make those questions work for a child. You can rearrange the questions so that the question fits somebody that's 5 or somebody that's 7 or somebody that's 10, and you go through and you answer those questions. You have them answer those questions, and that's how you figure. I think that is something huge, like, just saying, hey,
Yeah.
here's your work and whatever. And I think another thing is, I think, we say homeschooling, but homeschooling doesn't always mean schooling at home.
Right.
So I think also having an open mind when it comes down to learning, realizing that any opportunity or everything is an opportunity to learn and to grow, and you can turn anything, like seriously anything, into a learning opportunity. So I think that that's another thing but that comes with deschooling, So because when we're in school, we're sitting in a classroom and stuff like this, and we see the same people every day and talk to the same people every day, and kind of have like a scheduled things that we do every day, all day. So I think deschooling is huge because it allows you to have an open mind when it comes down to learning.
I think also some people are kind of nervous about, okay, so how do I keep up with the assignments that we do? How do I keep up with the grades? How do I gather a report card? Like, some people might be nervous about those things. So could you shed some light on that?
Sure. I personally, so when people have come to me and said, like, well, I want to homeschool, but I'm afraid that my child is going to fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we have to undo that whole way of thinking that your child can somehow fall behind when it's their journey. So,
I never thought about it that way.
so, and I'll use my own children as an example. My 6-year-old is very, like, when she was my youngest age, my youngest is 3.
Mm-hmm.
And when my 6-year-old was 3, she was like very, very adamant about learning how to read. She wanted to know how to read. She would open up books and she would literally sit there and try to sound out words. So since she wanted to do it so much, I actually, we got her the tools to be able to do that. It's like, okay, well, let's get her something on her level and see how it goes. It was something that she really wanted to do, so she did it.
Wow.
My youngest, who is 3 now, because my oldest was reading at 3, I'm not forcing my 3-year-old saying, oh, you need to learn how to read because your sister was 3 and she learned how to read at age 3. Like, no, that was her journey. And, my youngest, her journey is going to look completely different from my oldest. So I don't expect her to know how to read by the end of the year, by the time, she's 4. If she chooses to, that's fine. But I think that when it comes down to grades and stuff like that, one of the beauty of being in South Carolina is that we have option 3, homeschooling, where we don't have to worry about submitting grades and things of that nature, because, I think that is just really important for them to be able to thrive, at their own level and at their own pace. My 6-year-old, she never knows how to answer the question, what grade are you in? because it really depends on the subject.
Yeah, I always forget. I'm like, what grade are you?
Yeah, she never knows how to answer it because we're on one level in math, we're on one level in reading, we're on one level in science. So, she just, and I was like, just tell them you're in first grade because that's what most 6-year-olds are
Right.
in first grade.
I have to literally keep it on my calendar because I don't remember what grade my child was in.
Yeah, so I think all of that goes back into deschooling.
Yeah.
Just us not and it really depends on what the goals are for your family too, for your children.
Right.
So, my goal for my children is for them to, be able to think for themselves, for them to know how to handle situations, that are emotionally hard. I want them to be mentally, physically, emotionally healthy. So we focus a lot on mindfulness. We talk openly about how certain things make us feel and how to deal with certain things when we feel that way. So I think that ultimately, I want them to know that success doesn't necessarily mean you graduated from Harvard with a PhD or anything like that. Success is ultimately knowing that happiness is an inside job and
Yeah.
knowing how to achieve that job.
You said that, girl. I think I have a funny story. So my 9-year-old, she always thinks outside of the box. So she told us the other day that we're living in 2019. And so I was like, no, it's 2019, and she was like, it's
Yeah.
2019. And all of a sudden, like a light bulb went off in my head. And I'm like, she's right. Like, you consider the 18, like, they didn't say 1,819 or whatever the year was.
Right.
They said
Right.
it was the 1900s. And now they're saying
Right.
it's the 20s. So it's just
The
like seeing
2000.
those moments of them having their own minds is like, it's the 20s.
Exactly.
I can say
Exactly. I love those moments. I love that um when my daughter, my 6-year-old, when she's doing multiplication and she talks it out, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting up here like, what in the world? Like, but she gets it, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how you get it, as long as you understand it. And, basically when it came down to multiplication or anything with math, I just basically explained to her what it meant.
Right.
And now you can figure it out.
Right.
Because then, now you are thinking on your own, and I'm not telling you how to think. So I'm just telling you
Yep.
that addition means adding numbers together to get a sum, or, so, and then you figure out how to come up with that sum.
Yep.
So yeah, it is pretty amazing to see, how differently they think and different ways that they come up with things. It is pretty awesome.
Because I mean, even when we think back on our journey, no matter how many different ways we learn how to do addition, division, multiplication, when we got to a certain point in our life, is that we always stuck with whatever method made the most sense to us
Exactly.
whenever we were taught it. It didn't matter what we were taught it. It's
It
just
didn't
like,
matter what.
however,
Yep.
and so that's the type of things that we have to keep in mind when it comes down to our children, because sometimes we just overthink stuff.
Absolutely. We do. And I think that is, I've been telling a lot of parents that's reached out to me, like when they say that, I'm wanting to homeschool, and I'm like, first, breathe.
Yeah.
And second, try not to overthink it. Third, don't go on a crazy shopping spree, wasting money on curriculum that your children aren't going to be interested in anyway. And so, I'm like, spend this time to, deschool while getting to know your child, while focusing on, letting them know that they are loved unconditionally, giving them, letting them, have unstructured playtime, the right amount of sleep, teaching them how to be empathetic, letting them have the right amount of downtime, like all of those things I said. And then, take this time to see what their interests are. And then you can go from there.
Right.
Our kindergarten, when we did kindergarten, my oldest daughter's, her entire kindergarten curriculum was based on space because she is a huge space lover.
Wow.
So if I had did what I thought to do, which was, let me just go ahead and buy this and this person like this and this person like that, like it would have been a lot of money wasted.
Wow.
And I'm glad I didn't do that, because I ended up finding the curriculum that worked out best for her. And she just went through it with ease because it was something that she loved. And we got all the Mae Jemison books and Katherine Johnson books and Hidden Figures and all of these things, because it was also important for me to show her Black and brown women in that field as well. So so I think that just getting to know your child, their interests, and go off of that, because if they're interested in it, they are going to just, and if you get something that they're not interested in, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be overwhelming for everybody. And everybody just going to be over it.
Yes. I'm glad you said. I've been learning a lot from you ladies these past 4 episodes of just discussing how you do things. Because do you just ask them, like, what is your interest this year, and kind of like find a way to map their, like, mold their education around that?
We have conversations, and I try not to put too much pressure on it like that. Just kind of like, what do you like to do, or what are some things that you like to learn how to do? Even this year, at the beginning of the year, that was a conversation. So this entire year has pretty much been based around gardening and cooking, because those were things that my oldest was interested in. She was interested in growing food and flowers, and she was interested in cooking. So, gardening and cooking, that is like, it's like life skills and being self-sufficient. And then there was math, and then there's the science behind it all. And then there's geography, because we got to learn why we couldn't grow certain things here, but other people can grow certain things, in other places and different climates. And, it was history, because we got to learn why people grow, or how long certain areas that are known for growing certain foods. And then the cooking, we have, again, you have to measure food, and that's math, and the cooking. And then you have safety. So we got to learn about fire safety and all kinds of stuff, and life skills. And it just goes on and on and on. So
you kind of build on those things.
It was really, really fun to do. And she learned a lot, and I learned a lot. And I think that's really important, is to not see ourselves as, teachers, but also as learners.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've learned so much while being on this journey.
Yes.
I feel like they're the teachers.
They are, like, they're just intuitive. Like, any kid that's been born after 2000 seems like they're kind of like there's some type of intuitive.
I know.
In the way that they digest information and regurgitate it.
I know. I've learned so much. On this journey.
Gal says, my boy loves trains, so I need resources for train lessons.
For train lessons. Yeah, you know what? There was I don't know if they're local or not, but we did a whole lesson on trains. I can't, it's a place in Malden. They have this whole huge setup about trains. And I cannot remember. I'll have to look it up, and I can send it to you so you can share it with them later. But there are several places here locally that will allow you to ride trains, and they have people to teach you how the trains work. Yes, so I would say go for it.
Guys, I'll put that in the comments. She said yes.
Yes, just yes, go for it. Get all the train books, all the train activities, all the train toys for
Yes.
unstructured play. And yes, and just watch your child thrive.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Do you
Yeah.
so Tameka, do you have time for anything else when you're homeschooling? Like, do you still do other things from home, work from home, or any of that, or are you just full time homeschool?
Well, before this year, I was also a full-time singer in several local bands. That's something that I've done for a really long time. And so obviously with having a medically fragile child at home, we
Yeah.
already are pros. We've been pros at like social distancing, and we were when we would always do our like homeschool like field trips, we would always go, while everybody was at school and at work, and in the afternoons, and when everybody usually try to get their kids to take naps, and we go like at the least busiest hours. And so for obvious reasons, like this year, I haven't been able to do that because at the end of the day, my children are the priority, and health is a priority. And when you have a medically fragile child, like any virus um, can really take a toll on them. My daughter was exposed to common cold several years ago, and it landed her in the hospital for a week. So, so I don't, we are very conscious about exposure even before COVID, and COVID just kind of made it a little bit more challenging because it's something new and we don't know. It's affected so many people different ways. So because health is a priority, but I do hope to get back to that. Right now, I've just been, helping my 6-year-old teach her. Right now, she was kind of bummed out about not being able to do lemonade stands this year. So yeah, she's really into like making her own money.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, and that you know what? So you know what I did? I got her a kidpreneur book.
Oh.
And I got her Finance 101 book. And I
Yes.
told her to read those books. And she really she blew me away. Like she read those books. She came back with a legit business plan.
What?
Yeah, she is launching her website Thursday. And so
Hey, that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Please
So I
keep us in
told
the
her, I
loop.
was like, I will. I gave her those books and I said, hey, with everything that's going on, obviously we can't do a lemonade stand because we don't want, to put your sister at risk for anything. And I was like, so you read these books and you figure out how to make money and also be safe.
Wow.
So she just took it and just ran with it.
I love it. That's amazing. Good job. See, that's the freedom of mind. Like when you allow them
Yeah.
not this test, or I gotta, keep up with the A student in my class, or I love how you said it. Like they cannot get left behind on their own journey of learning. Like that phrase, like that needs to be on a T-shirt.
Yep.
For homeschool kids.
Yep. You can't be. We thrive on our own pace. And we as adults we don't do well under that type of pressure.
Yep.
So why would we put that off on our children?
Yeah.
So
it's not even something that we're thinking about. It's just like think should be done. But when you have that moment, and I feel like, the COVID season has been a very hard time for people. And at the same rate, it's also been like a blessing in disguise where we've been able to kind of like sit back and like rethink how we can do life, on a lot of so this is an opportune time of like, hey, go ahead.
Yeah, my phrase this year has been, finding peace in the pause. Take an opportunity, find your peace, find what, feeds you, find what fuels you, like do those things. And that's what I want my children to do. I don't want them to do things that, they're doing because they feel like they have to do it. Like I want them to do things that feeds their spirit, that feeds their soul, that makes them happy. At the end of the day, I've been telling my, 6-year-old, if you do something, that you love, it makes it so much easier to get up and have all of the, enthusiasm and the drive and the will to keep doing it because you love it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's been my whole thing this year, just finding peace in the pause because, we get so caught up in going, like this whole rat race. And like the more you do it, and like the more, I guess, successful you are. But I'm like, it's beauty in slowing down too.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very necessary.
Exactly. You just take inventory, like, okay, what's been working, what has not been working,
exactly,
what can we be doing differently. Like this has been the opportune time to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that you've given us, a lot of jewels,
I hope so.
So if there's anything that you had written down that we did not cover, that you wanted to share, that you feel like is important, feel free to go ahead and do that.
I do. There is one thing that and it's just because it's been a concern that I feel like every single parent that I have spoken with have said something about, and that has been, socialization.
Uh-huh.
Well, when you're homeschoolers, how do they socialize?
Yeah.
So, I think that there's this like misconception like of what homeschooling is. And, people don't homeschool in a bubble. Like we don't just, sit home in our rooms all day and that's homeschooling. And I think that one of the benefits that my children have is socializing with people of all walks of life.
Yes.
They socialize with so many different people just because of the different environments that we're constantly putting ourselves in. And at the end of the day, socialization is learning to interact with a variety of people in a variety of situations. But, traditional school perpetuates the culture of peer orientation. And, that's just not a goal that we've set, for our kids. We want, yes, we want our kids to be able to just talk to anybody and understand that they can learn so much. Like everybody has something, to teach them.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many, benefits that we can have from different people. So, my kids, they have friends, like they have, really, really good friends, but at this point in life, their primary attachment is their family. And that's what is important for us right now.
Definitely.
So I think that socialization is huge, and it's one of those things that once again we overthink.
Yes.
It's one of those things that we just overthink it, But that's one thing that I did want to say and that's just because so many people are like, well, what about them? I worry about them, socializing.
Yep.
So I'm like, don't worry about it.
There's so much opportunity, extracurricular activities. You can still sign your children up with the local school extracurricular activity program.
Yep. My daughter does gymnastics twice a week.
Yep.
Yep.
You can find those types of things. Like they still can do little league or whatever is available out there. Like
they can still do homeschool co-ops.
Yeah.
And
so all kinds of camps and stuff on
virtual camps. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My daughter's done homeschool co-ops that she's loved. She's done virtual camps this year because of COVID, and she loved them. She goes to gymnastics twice a week, and there's all, I encourage people to join local groups of local homeschooling parents and, just let them be, just meet up somewhere and just let them be. Because unstructured play, there's so much learning in that, just letting them just do it. On their own. Just let them do it.
That's the way of their world. Like the way of their world is technology, artificial intelligence, and all of those things. All companies that hire for that, they're thinking of, are you an innovative person? Can you do your own? Do you know how to take initiative? So
exactly.
You have the balance of public schools where some of the instruction is to kind of teach them in a way where they're like not able to think for themselves. Like everything is so you have to do it like this. You cannot do it outside of this. And so when you put somebody in that mind frame, it keeps them on that like one narrow way of doing it. But when you are allowing them to think outside of the box, that's going to be your next leader of no. It doesn't have to do it this way, so it's just finding that balance of you have to go back to public school. You can still do instructional learning at home to make sure that your child is not being boxed in.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think that is so, so, so important. Like, and that they keep that.
Yeah.
And they're able to be creative, in their own ways. Not just like this.
Yeah. Well, it's been an honor. I really enjoyed talking to you tonight.
Me too. And, thank you so much.
If you have any links or any helpful things that you just really like homeschool co-op in your area, maybe somebody can kind of look into what they offer and compare it to something that's local to them. So whenever you get some free time, you want to just look back through the comments and drop some links in there, that would be awesome. And I'll do it on the YouTube as well.
Okay, that sounds great.
But yeah, I definitely appreciate you. You have some beautiful daughters, and I wish
Thank you.
Season that we're walking into.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Same to you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope that you have gained some helpful knowledge to help you prepare for the fall semester. And we want to say thank you to Tameka for joining us and for all the helpful information that she shared tonight. And we will see you next time. It's your girl Candace signing off, South Carolina by Black Locally, and Tameka signing off as a homeschooling mom. All right, guys, see you later.
SCBBL show. Rock on.